The opinions expressed on this program are those of the program host and guest and are not necessarily those of this station, management, staff, and sponsors. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. It's time now for the Crown Car Care Show. Call in with questions and comments 220-9788 220-WSTU. Now, here's your host.
Hi, I may be the host, but the man of the microphone and the man of the keyboard and the man of the control panel is my buddy Frank.
Hey.
And that's the man that needs the credit.
Oh,
not me.
Oh, yeah, but you're the one that helps pay the bills.
Well, and so do you.
You are.
You always are bringing your vehicles to, and the referrals you send me are always coming to my shops. Yes. So you do help to pay the bills on my end as well.
Yeah, with pleasure, because I know it's going to be a good experience.
Absolutely. And we have one more day in this month of August, 2023. It is the 30th of August.
Right.
I have a question for you. When is the official end of summer?
Well, I think it would be
it would be the
September 1.
September 1st is the official end of summer. So at
Labor
least
Day.
what we think it is.
Right.
Labor Day.
Correct.
Isn't that when you have to change your wardrobe and when
no
I was
more
younger,
white shoes.
You can't wear white, I guess, is when after Labor Day. Isn't that correct?
I think so. White shoes is the big no-go.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't wear my seersucker white suit with the light thin blue pinstripes.
Something like that.
You know what a seersucker suit is? It's like puckery.
Yes.
And they're light. And they
look like jammies.
Yeah. Seersucker suit.
Yes.
I
don't know how they ended. Oh,
yeah.
Sure.
And that would be more you'd see in it would be in the mid to late 1800s, and you would see it at I could see P.T. Barnum wearing a seersucker suit with with not a tall top hat, but a thin top hat. Right. He would be in his horse and buggy.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, seersucker.
Yeah.
Good word.
What a funny word. Yes, indeed.
We'll have to look that up. Seersucker. It is properly too. Seersucker suit.
Oh, yes, I know. Oh,
I think it has to do with the puckering of the material. I believe it has a little bit of stretch to it, if I'm not mistaken. You can take a seersucker fabric and it actually goes out further in length than what naturally lays on you.
Correct. So it's
am I right on that? Yeah.
Yes, it's probably the original stretch fabric.
Yeah, seersucker suit.
Yeah. Okay.
We have a great show today for all of our listeners and all of our people trying to, we have a few windows here. In fact, the only windows are on our door, and I can just see the lines of people trying to get up to the front and just see us.
Yeah.
Looking for an autograph or something,
Yeah. Oh, sure.
We wave to them.
It's tough to be
I'll
famous.
throw them my note cards of my information.
Yeah.
The only problem is the bathroom is out through that door. You get accosted with autographs and questions when you have to go to the bathroom on break.
That's
okay. It comes with the fame and fortune of being in show business.
Yes, that's right.
And we are in show business.
We are.
Absolutely.
And let the show continue.
And the show today is we always like to give us a summary of what we're going to do. We're going to talk about cabin air filters. We're going to talk about diesel trucks. We're going to talk about ambulances, and we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about Carvana, which is a wonderful organization that sells vehicles online and how we're related to them.
Wow.
So 4 topics of interest. But I think, Frank, you may have some interesting electric car news.
Do
you have a couple bits of information you can share with us?
Yeah, there's a vehicle called Polestar 2.
Isn't that a Volvo?
It's... I don't. It looks like a Volvo.
It's owned by Volvo. If it's Polestar, it's owned by Volvo.
Yes, and
which is actually owned by. Is it Chinese or Volvo was sold and bought?
Yes,
I believe it's a Chinese company. Or
yes,
I believe so.
Yes, and they are. You can lease a Polestar 2 for only $399 a month.
That's a great. 2 questions.
Yes,
it's a great deal.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, what's the mileage? And probably 10 to 12,000 a year, which is acceptable for somebody that lives in town and would want something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it does answer or raise the question, which you and I were having an extensive discussion on.
Yes,
regarding residual value and depreciation on electric vehicles and how that's going to fit into with our current society.
Right.
I argue there's going to be a misfit somehow. It's just not going to work.
Right. Because some of the parts sometimes are greater
or exceeded than the entire value of the whole car.
Correct.
Like let's just use Tesla, for example, or use anyone. It doesn't matter. Let's use X car. Right?
Mhm.
No name car, electric car needs a battery pack.
Yeah.
At 130,000 miles.
Yeah.
What the average battery pack? It could be anywhere from $15,000 to $50,000.
Yeah.
But the residual value of that car may only be
10.
But it goes back to like how my business is. If you, Frank, have a low mileage vehicle that on the book and it's in mint condition and you've owned it since it was new, is only worth $4,000.
Yeah.
But you know that you've maintained it. The brakes are perfect. It has new tires on it. There's a lot of things about a car that that the blue book or the average retail or wholesale value of that vehicle does not know about.
Right.
Okay, so you've owned the vehicle since it was new. You've taken care of it. Everything's mint. The interior is mint. The air conditioning was redone 2 years ago. It's got new tires and brakes, and you've maintained it. And it needs a motor. But remember, the book value is only $4,000, and the motor costs you $5,000 to have it installed.
Yeah.
So you'd have $9,000. No, you would have a bill of $5,000,
right?
And then you'd have to, on the back of your mind, knowing your car's only worth $4,000.
Right.
But when you're done, do you have more of a valuable car to you?
Right.
Because you have a new motor and everything else is perfect because it's been replaced and maintained over the life of the car. Then if you took that $9,000, let's just say you took the $5,000 that you were going to spend on the car.
Right.
And you took the imaginary play money of the $4,000, which is supposedly
trade-in value.
Trade-in value. You have $9,000. And you took that $9,000 on the open market to buy a vehicle for $9,000. I would argue that the vehicle you would buy for $9,000 doesn't even come close to the $5,000 you put into the motor.
Right.
On the $4,000 residual or trade-in value. So there is something that can be said about condition of the car,
yes,
who owned it, and the story of where it came from, the local knowledge or information about it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that does it put a wrench in my theory on this electric car depreciation? Somewhat, kind of. So let's say we had the electric car, right, that was worth $10,000,
right?
But it's mint. Nothing wrong with it other than it needs a battery.
Yeah.
A new one's $80,000.
Oof.
But it's depreciated to 10.
Yeah.
Is it worth it to put a $15,000 battery in there? And really, because you're really not having 25 into it. You've really only put 15 into it because you already own the car at 10.
Right.
You've owned it. It's just that's the quandary you have to make as an owner. Do you trade it in and grab the 10, or do you put 15 in it? And then cry to your friends that, oh, the car's only worth 10 and I put 15 in it. Well, maybe that 15 that you put in that 10 car is actually like a $60,000 car because of the condition of it.
Right.
Even though the norms and standards that evaluate vehicles and value say it's only worth 10, it might to you be worth 60 because that would be what you'd have to pay to get a comparable condition car. Even though a $60,000 car might be newer. But newer doesn't mean it's better. It just means it has newer technology. I mean, better. When I talk about these cars, you and I, we're talking about condition of them and whether it's designed, designed intent. Does it leak oil? How does it drive? It might not have, some of the advanced features of a newer vehicle, but is it functional 100% as it was new?
Right.
That's the question you have to ask yourself.
Right.
So I think they're taking a hit on this as a release.
Oh, sure.
They just want to saturate the market.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a lot of car companies do that to buy placement into a market.
Yes. Do you remember in Southern California, slightly off topic, but interesting. I'm going to say, I believe it was like 1968, 1967. Do you remember it didn't used to be called credit cards? They were charge plates. Okay. Well, Bank of America did a credit card charge plate dump as an experiment in the Los Angeles area and blanketed targeted areas with credit and a charge plate and a revolving charge count.
All right.
And that is the start of the Visa MasterCard thing. That's how it started. So they probably took a loss.
Yeah.
My point is they saturated the market, right?
They bought into the market.
Isn't that what
I think is exactly?
Is this the same? Are we
you
doing?
Hit on it.
Are we doing a Visa card dump in 1967 with cars?
Yes. Exactly right. Yes.
Okay. Someone's taking a hit.
Absolutely. Toyota did the same thing. I remember I had a friend of mine who was an engineer working for GM, and I was talking to him many years ago, and he was up in Michigan.
Yes.
And he was telling me that he was crying, verbally, about the fact that they could not beat Toyota on the cost of their cars, because Toyota was basically, he felt, now it's just his personal opinion, that they were selling the cars for less than what they were really worth in order for people to buy them, to put them into the market. And
is it a legal strategy? I believe it is.
Sure, it's perfectly legal.
It would be just like couponing. It's just like a coupon you'd see at a Kmart used to do the blue light special. I'm sure it cost them money to move the product.
The Toyota replacement parts, however, on a part per part basis against a General Motors equivalent part, were significantly more expensive. So where they made their money back was on the parts and service. It was, and
also brand notoriety, recognition. If everybody is driving a Toyota, that and oh boy, I want one of those, and it might not be that one you buy. You'll buy a Camry, or maybe you'll buy a pickup truck, a Tundra,
sure,
or you'll buy the Highlander, or even yet higher up.
Well, this is what gave birth to the Saturn brand within GM, because again, GM was complaining about, how do we do this? How do we break this cycle? And they actually sold the Saturns for at or below cost.
And Saturn was
a quality car.
Yeah, and the big thing on Saturn was almost like Keyson, which is that bottoms up management, that the Japanese style management that was started after World War II by Edward Demings, ironically enough, from General Motors.
Yes,
which
just in time.
Ointment, fly in the ointment, which is interesting that
it's full circle.
That the Japanese car companies embraced Edward Demings' philosophy and teachings, and who funded that? The federal government.
Of course,
and it was the rebuilding. It was the rebuilding process after World War II.
Correct.
I believe I'm correct on my history here.
You are.
And they hired away Edward Demings, who was the time motion quality control along the process, as opposed to instead of having a quality control checker at the end, the process is built and designed in such that the quality control happens along the manufacturing process.
Right.
So when the product is at the end, we don't need to QC or quality control. It's already been done that through the process, and input and changes happen from the bottom up.
And that's why when you looked at it back in the 80s, and you looked at a Toyota fit and finish compared to a General Motors product, fit and finish.
Yes.
Huge difference.
So Edward Demings, where he's from, the preaching of what he did and helped the Japanese through the aid of the federal government after World War II wasn't exactly what the company did that he came from.
Right.
There's an irony there.
There's a tremendous.
It would be like me.
irony.
It would be like me saying at Crown Car Care, the federal government hires me to set up a fleet repair shop in I don't know, downtown Washington, D.C. for all the Secret Service automobiles that the government uses to guard the president. Okay, I set it up, and I set up a perfect repair shop. All the cars are getting fixed the first time. Yet when they look back at my shops, there's a problem.
Yeah.
There's a disconnect that happened.
Exactly right.
But Saturn, though, was almost a separate company. It was, and I believe it was in Bloomington, Illinois, or I took it to India, Illinois. I believe it was. I think it was in Bloomington.
Could have been.
I believe it was in Bloomington.
They tried to give them an entirely different ethos, and the whole idea was they told the Saturn management team that because it used to be, if you were building Oldsmobile, or you're building Buick, or you're building Pontiac, and you needed a turn signal indicator, you were going to buy the same turn signal indicator from the same vendor in order to save money. Or, for example, Buick would make all the turn signals.
Spring Hill, Tennessee.
Spring Hill. Okay. So,
which I believe is the reason why Nissan built the plant in
be.
Tennessee too. Okay.
Could be.
I toured that.
Yeah. Okay. But so the whole, I lost my train of thought.
You were talking about the quality and Saturn and why they did it.
Right. So what GM had told their management team was, their previous thinking was, if Buick was making a very good turn signal, then you would buy all your turn signals from Buick, even if you were Chevrolet, or
intercompany
purchasing
sharing of
technology
and off-the-shelf parts that are manufactured for another vehicle. As long as it's high quality and number one, that's who we use.
They were number one selected because if they met the criteria for, whatever it is they were doing.
Met the criteria,
right.
Correct.
But whereas the Saturn thinking is even something as mundane as a wiper blade or the wiper motor, if you can buy a part better, cheaper from somewhere else, is better than
even outside the General Motors,
outside of the right, then do it. The Saturn frame was a Volvo frame.
And that was owned by Ford Motor Company. I don't think at the time, but ultimately it was owned by Ford.
But the point being is they looked at all the frames that they could get.
And that was the best choice.
Correct.
Everything has to come into play. Value, price, quality, engineering, rigidity, safety. There's a whole...
Right.
We could
fill
a plethora, a note card full of the criteria that we're looking for, and we can give it ratings. And then the one with the highest rating would be we would use. I know on Lamborghinis, the turn signal stock and some of the window switches are VW.
Okay.
Because VW, this VW happens to own Lamborghini.
Sure.
But they use, and that is some of the.
Isn't that wild?
If there's some high-end car aficionados, I think their tail goes between their legs and they scuttle off when naysayers say that some Lamborghinis have shared VW parts. Okay. Oh, we have a caller.
We do have a caller in our newsmaker line. Go ahead, caller.
Hello, Frank and Todd.
Hey,
well, hello there.
How you doing?
Yeah. Back I handled a Saturn dealership when I worked at the Harper Current.
Okay.
Oh wow, talk to us.
Okay, and actually the guy that owned it was Tony March. He was directly from Michigan. He also had a Buick dealership in Hartford.
Mm-hmm.
But when I called, they would have a door on the floor and encourage anybody to stand on it.
Yeah.
So you stood on it and got off of it and just it popped right back into place.
It was a special panel. Yes. Yeah, it was special.
It was it was the whole car was special.
And I believe the paint wasn't painted; it was molded into it, wasn't it? The paint was actually part of the
the paint wouldn't pop off even if you
didn't
dented the door.
Scratch it at all, Todd. You stood on it, got off of it.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole pitch was even if somebody whacks you with their door, they're not going to hurt your car.
Right.
And it's true. That's a great demonstration. A very great story. Thank you there, Palm City Charlie. Fabulous story. I love it. I had never heard that before, and I think that's kind of cool. Yeah.
And also, as long as I got you on the phone, folks, how I maintain my vehicle, I bring it to Crown Car Care, and over time they change all the fluids, so that I don't get scratches internally.
Yeah,
and the car lasts longer.
It does. 100%. You are a living example and proof in your vehicle that maintenance works. Yes, all cars are going to break, but you want them to break less. Absolutely. But
too darn old to buy another car.
Yep. And you have a fabulous car. Thank you so much.
Todd and the team at Crown Car Care.
Right. Wow. Thanks, buddy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
All right, bye.
Bye.
And this all started with the lease on the Polestar. Didn't this conversation start?
Yeah.
I believe it did, if I'm not mistaken.
It did. So I spoke to Buddy yesterday.
Yeah.
And so we come up with a plan for Palm City Charlie so that when he has a scheduled appointment and he's going to be in the Palm City store.
Yes.
The TV screen will be displaying cichlid fish tank.
Oh, so we
just
have a
in his
plan
honor.
In his honor.
When there's a scheduled visit, there will be fish in the
swimming in a big screen TV.
Yes.
Ready to go.
Ready to go.
Any more electric or hybrid news before we delve into cabin air filters?
there is a website you can go to schedule a demo drive for Rivian.
And isn't Rivian coming out with an SUV?
They are indeed, and it's available also for a test drive.
Yeah, but you have to go. You have to go certain places.
You have to go to either Miami,
okay,
or Orlando.
That's a long drive.
So if you are planning a trip to Orlando to visit Mickey,
yes,
or some such activity, maybe a basketball game or something to do, that would be a good opportunity to try to kind of mix your activities.
Yes. Now, how does that fit in with service?
That is a good question, because
so my car, I buy a Rivian and the thing breaks down here in Stuart.
That's going to be a problem.
I believe it's a problem also with the Lucid Air, if I'm not mistaken. There is an issue. I mean, we can talk about it all we want,
right?
But there is a logistics and a real geographic issue.
Right. The only advantage to Lucid Air, if you want to do a test drive,
they will bring the car to you.
They will bring it to you, which is, I think, marvelous marketing.
And it gives a lot of pride and of the product, pride of the product, right? Yes. And confidence in the product, that if you are brought a $150,000 vehicle or less, because we did hear they are negotiating on price, like I spoke about a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
And you validated it.
Yes.
That it speaks miles though on the product.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
you come to me or I come to you.
Right.
If you're coming to me, you must be pretty darn confident and serious in your product.
Right.
Or you've got some heck of a salesperson, which, that's not even a real,
right.
I say that in jest and pun, but it's really the product.
Yeah.
The product most products speak for themselves.
Right. There will be some new locations opening up in Florida.
Okay. So they're a new remember, we got to give everybody a break. This is new technology.
Yep.
Right.
New
full electric, and it's a fairly new company, although it was connected with Ford. I don't know if Ford's still connected with them. I don't think they are. I think we've reported on that.
Yes, they're
not divorced, but I just say they're not connected. I don't think it was it wasn't a bloody divorce. I think it was just an ending.
Correct.
They shared technology and that was it.
Correct.
Right. So that's how that works.
Yep.
And I don't even know if Rivian's a publicly owned company or is it still privately held?
You can buy Rivian stock.
You can.
I know because
I know Tesla recently, Elon Musk sold a boatload of Tesla shares.
Yes,
recently, because it has to be reported when you sell over a certain amount of shares in our country. It is reported through the Securities and Exchange Commission. It's public information.
Correct. SEC.
So it doesn't. You can't skew the markets on your trades and pretty much short a market, short or make money on a long, by manipulating the market with sales.
Correct.
It has to be reported. So
yes.
Let's talk about cabin air filters.
Yes.
And then we'll take a break after that, and then we'll come back and do diesel trucks.
Okay.
And other items of discussion. Cabin air filters. Frank, when do you think on average, most manufacturers, as well as the manufacturers of the air filters themselves for the cabins, say to replace it? How often and what mileage?
I'm going to guess maybe the second oil change.
12 months or 12,000 miles.
Okay.
I'd probably argue in Florida here a little bit sooner. It's
a
little bit sooner. The heat and the pollen and the dust. I would think a little bit sooner, but I guess that's a good, if everyone did 12,000 miles in 12 months, I think we would have a cleaner environment on the inside of cars.
Yeah.
I can tell you this before we even start talking about them. If I had a photograph for every cabin filter I changed in my life or my businesses and the people that work with me change, if we had a picture of, let's say, 200 cabin filters that we replaced, 60 of them you wouldn't want to look at or touch or even lay eyes on, nor would you want to reveal what car it came out of.
And you want to definitely wear gloves. Yeah.
You'd want to wear gloves.
Yes.
So what's the message I'm saying?
They're pretty grody.
Pretty under-maintained.
Yes.
Under-maintained.
Yes.
It is.
Which means they're working. But they need to be changed more often.
Yes. And I would say there isn't a big enough public awareness.
Yeah.
Even when we had the COVID lockdowns and things like that, I never really saw much about how the cabin air filter because many of the cabin air filters are more have the better filtering than some of the masks. So I mean,
yes,
you get what I'm saying. So
sure.
it
I'm chuckling because I'm thinking about all the people I saw in traffic, and if you're one of those, I apologize to you in advance. All the people I saw in traffic driving alone in their car wearing a mask.
Well, the reason is their cabin filters were so dirty they never changed them. There's your logic on it. Okay, now we finally figured it out.
That's it.
Because some of these filters on many cars have activated charcoal, and they actually have a HEPA number, which is I don't even know. It's
certain microns.
I think it's regulated by the EPA, and I think filtration mediums are given a rating as to the micron level of what it can and can't filter.
Right.
Okay. And you can buy different cabin filters upon request. I mean, I'm sure when you buy, when you buy a brand new vehicle or buy a used vehicle,
just like
usually it's the lowest acceptable filter that you can get away with that isn't going to raise an eyebrow, except when I'm sure you get into the high end, like a Rolls Royce or some of these exotic vehicles that are, many hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm sure that I know they do have exotic filtration systems with very, very effective filters.
Right. But I imagine they probably have a more robust maintenance schedule too.
And what we're talking about here is average.
Yeah.
Everything in my world is just average.
Right.
It's average cars, what it takes to maintain and, for a median or average life.
Yeah.
For the car as well as the consumer who owns them. So cabin air filters are under-maintained, and the cost, what do you think I'll tell you what they cost. It could be anywhere from $40 to hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
Depending on how hard it is to get to.
Right.
Because of the labor.
Right.
And then the level of filter you want to buy and how much that filter costs to make and then sell in retail and shape of it, et cetera, and the manufacturer.
Right.
Some filters look the same, but one can be 3 times the price. So what dictates the installed price of a cabin filter? I would say more so the labor side of it than it does the filter, because some are real easy.
Yeah.
You remember, Frank, when we went to a gas station and it was full service?
Yeah.
And let's say you had a headlamp out.
Yes.
And that service tech or service jockey that filled the gas would have you pull off in front of the bay doors, and he would grab a screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver, and that bulb would be changed in about a minute.
Yeah.
And there was no labor charge.
No.
You tipped the guy and then you paid for the bulb.
Yeah.
Okay. Some filters are like that.
Yeah.
You drop the glove box and you as a consumer could simply change it.
Yeah.
But others are not the case. Some of it's a real labor operation that you have to have a skilled technician that's certified to, to change it. And there's going to be a labor charge.
Special, and Phillips head screwdrivers are not part of it. Is this torque screws?
Torque screws. I'm getting at is many cars. It's just can you change my cabin filter? I just bought one from Crown Car Care.
Right.
Yes. But I'm going to say most of them.
Yeah.
It's all about doing a quality replacement, and it involves time.
Yes.
And that's really what labor charge is in any business.
They're buying your time.
Buying the time. So what I'm getting at is you could buy a $30 cabin filter that may cost $80 to install. Because it could be, could be an hour or half an hour, almost an hour of full-time labor just to get to it. Some of them you have to drop the glove box to pull framing out, drop the blower motor to get to it. In fact, some vehicles like a Mercedes can have up to 3 cabin filters.
Woof.
You heard me. 3.
Woof. Wow.
And here's the why.
Yeah.
Tell me what the difference, Frank, is between max air and regular air conditioning. Where does the air come from and what's different?
Max means that's recycled through the cabin.
Okay. So that would be one filter.
Yeah.
And what's the regular?
Regular is air that comes in from the outside of the cabin.
And where does it generally come in from?
From the engine compartment.
Or the cowl.
Right.
And the cowl goes the length of the
engine bay.
Or the window, and there's like 2 wiper blades. So on that cowl, there's going to be 2 filters.
Right. One on each side.
Plus 1.
Right.
Plus the one on the inside is 3.
Yeah.
So you could have
should be
$500-$600.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah.
That's reality.
Right.
Remember, we are here to serve you.
Right.
It's not it's not name that price, spin the wheel of fortune, and I feel it should be $30, so therefore it is. No, if you buy certain cars, therefore it is that price.
Right. And you really should investigate a lot of that stuff
before you buy a vehicle. If you ever have a question, you can call any one of my shops at 772-781-8000. We have 2 locations, one in Palm City, Florida, and one in Stort, Florida, almost in Hope Sound off Cove Road.
That's right.
And they're listed on Google reviews. Read some of my reviews. Look up my phone numbers. Give us a call if you have a question. But remember, an educated consumer is our best customer. And we stole that line from who? It was a clothing line. An educated consumer is our...
Yes.
It wasn't TJ Maxx. It was, I can't think of the name of it. I'll think of it.
Yes, it was the men's suits company.
It was a clothing company.
Yes.
But ask questions.
Yes. And we'll be right back. Yeah, give Todd a call at 781-8000. We'll be right back. We are back. You're listening to the Power Hour of the Crown.
Horsepower.
Yes.
Horsepower, not
more
just
power,
power, but horsepower. Hour.
More power.
Yes. Okay, so we've talked about cabin filters. Now, what's the importance of them? Well,
fresh air.
Clean air, germs, pollen, dust, dirt. You don't want to breathe it.
Diesel fumes.
Any kind of fumes in our world. Yeah. Every little advantage that you can get is going to help.
Yeah.
Is it perfect? Well, what's interesting, I'll tell you, I was in Las Vegas many years ago. Second year I was in business, so it'd be 15 years ago. I went to a ASA, which is Automotive Service Association, which I'm a member of.
Right.
We went to a convention there, or I did with one of my fellow employees, Andy. And while I was there, I went to a automotive museum, and it was on one of the 8th or 9th floor of one of these casinos. And in that was the guy that made the Spruce Goose. What's his name?
Howard Hughes.
Howard Hughes
had
one of his cars there.
Huh.
And this was a late 50s, early 60s car.
Right.
And all the doors and trunk were open because it was the most exotic filtration system you ever laid eyes on. Custom made with engineers, and it filtered every bit of air for germs.
Well, he was germaphobe.
This is my point.
Yes.
So back then,
right? They already knew this stuff.
They knew this stuff. That's what I'm trying to say is how old this vehicle was. It had an exotic air conditioning.
Well, he was
the
Elon Musk of his time.
Yes.
And he was also involved in making satellites and rocketry and stuff like that. I mean,
do you know that
he had government contracts?
Do you know where he originally got his seed startup money?
No, tell me.
Okay.
Do tell.
Hughes Drill Bits.
Oh, wow.
His father
Yes.
had a company
Yeah.
that made the bits and drills for the oil industry for the wells, the derricks.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't sell them, though.
They leased them.
One of the first reoccurring revenue business models that made somebody rich and famous. Reoccurring revenue.
Right.
Why sell a bit when you can lease it to them?
Right. It gets dull. No problem. Change it out. We'll give you a new one.
Isn't that what Polestars do?
Yeah.
Am I buying that Polestar or am I leasing it?
Yeah. You're leasing that one.
It's a reoccurring revenue for 24 months or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then who gets the car back?
Yep. Polestar. Yeah.
Who got the drill bits back after the lease?
See?
Howard Hughes.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
There seems to be a
little synergy there.
I'm starting to figure things out here on this radio show about things. Okay.
There's a circle of life.
There's a circle of life here, and it's going on, and we're duplicating it as we speak. Okay.
Yes. All right.
So cabin air filters are important, people. If you need them changed or you want them checked, give me a holler. And I'll be honest with you, even checking them.
Yeah.
It's you kind of got to be committed to change it. You can't check it unless you pull it out. So you're really changing it. So you kind of got to be semi-committed to this thing.
Exactly. So that's why I'm suggesting the second oil change at or about, because let's face it, if you've got a cabin filter and you're in Florida and there's 3 growing seasons here, there's a lot of pollen, there's dust and stuff flying around, and so if you are, your windows are going to be rolled up and you're going to be breathing that cabin air, you certainly don't want to be breathing moldy cabin air because of the warm, moist air.
So if you think back and you haven't changed it within a year,
right?
As you roll into my shop or anywhere and they say, can you check my cabin air filter? Really what you're saying is, can you check the condition and then put another one in? Right. Be prepared to go down that road.
Right. Yes. And that should be the conversation.
That's the conversation. Because like I told you, you could spend 45 minutes pulling that thing out.
Right.
Right.
No, I know.
I know.
It's
just math and simple stuff. So it's like if I ask somebody to check I think I have a roof leak. Could you pull off half my shingles and take a look?
Yeah.
Well, at that point, you'd be a fool to put the old shingles back on.
Right.
Right. You're going to put new tar paper down and put new shingles if you're going to make the effort of checking it.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's my point with the cabin air filter. Just get it replaced.
Yes.
If you don't know when you've replaced it, just come in and get it replaced.
Right.
And we'll check it for you and show it to you. And you're going to probably not want to touch it.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
You'll find lizards in there, bugs, spiders, mold growth. It's just
the amount of mold is just.
It's disgusting.
stunning.
It's disgusting.
Yes.
Okay.
1 minute.
Diesel trucks.
Okay.
Let's 1 minute real quick. We're going to talk about, did you know that Crown Car Care fixes and repairs and services and maintains NPR, which is Isuzu cab over delivery trucks that you'll see all over the road with commercial companies and vehicles. We do that.
Nice.
It's one of our mainline businesses in Palm City. So if any of my listeners that maybe work for or own a company that has delivery vehicles that are diesels or gas.
Right. There are a bunch on the road.
I'm kind of pushing diesels. We do diesel repair.
Sure.
Bring them to us.
Sure.
You'll be delighted with our service. You'll be stunned with our speediness. And you'll be overall, your happiness will rise when the process is complete, knowing that we've maintained and serviced your truck so we can get back on the road and do deliveries. That's what we do.
Right.
Medium duty and down diesel vans and trucks and NPRs, which is a brand, Isuzu. We all know what those cab over medium trucks with a box on the back.
Yep.
You'll see it like with a gutter company or a plumbing company, air conditioning. We fix those and repair them and maintain them and change the oil and do filters. And do you know even those have cabin filters, the new ones?
Sure.
They do. Cabin filters on trucks. How about that one?
The drivers still.
So any drivers out there that are driving commercial vehicles as a profession, ask your boss or your fleet manager, when's the last time they changed that cabin filter?
Right.
Now, I hope I don't get all these phone calls now complaining. All righty, let's take a break.
All right, we'll be right back. So stick with us. 781-8000. We are back.
Fabulous.
Yes.
The 30th of August, 2023. 2 days or 1 day before the end of summer.
Do you know what tomorrow is?
The 31st.
Yes. Do you know also what it is?
No.
It's a blue moon.
What's that mean?
It's the second blue moon of the same month.
Oh, I don't even know. What's a blue moon?
That's what a blue moon is.
Oh.
It's the second moon, second full moon that happens in the same month.
What is a blood moon?
That's when the moon seems blood red.
And what is the saying from sailors? Red sky
at dawn, sailors be warned. And red sky at dawn, sailors be warned. Red sky at dusk should be
sailor's delight or
sailor's
something.
Delight. Yes.
And isn't there something similar with a coral snake?
Oh, perhaps so.
With the red before.
Oh, yeah.
Red next is a friend of a fellow, or I think it's.
Well, I don't know.
Created after that limerick. I believe it's a limerick, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Limerick. Limerick.
So, but my rule of thumb, if it's a coral snake, it's going to be a dead snake. I'm not going to worry about whether or not it's safe.
I've had to kill a coral snake. It was in my garage once.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
In Jupiter Farms when I lived with my wife and I found right in our garage door.
Yeah. Not to be trifled with.
I used a shovel.
Yes. A very effective tool.
Decapitated.
Yes, very effective.
Okay.
Yes.
I figured let's talk about something that's most interesting at 5:51.
Yes.
We have a few minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
Has anyone ever wondered when you see a fire truck driving down the road or an ambulance, you always think they're in tip-top shape, right?
Yeah. I would hope so.
We're not going to have an issue with the vehicle. Right? Because it's a government vehicle, perhaps a county or a city, and perhaps an ambulance is owned by a hospital or perhaps by the city or the municipality for the fire department. And you also have private carriers of ambulances, right? All private, but all those are saving lives. And the last thing anybody needs is a vehicle. Well, did you know that there is an organization called the Emergency Vehicle Technician Training? It's an organization out of Carpentersville, Illinois. It's a nonprofit, been around for a long time. It certifies and regulates technicians that work on these vehicles and has a battery of very difficult tests that you take as a technician to be certified to show that you have the competency, the intelligence, and the integrity and the wherewithal to repair and maintain, and the key word is maintain, these vehicles.
Right.
To keep them in
not
only tip-top shape, but fail-proof.
Right.
It's kind of like an airplane, right? You think about the maintenance schedules on commercial airlines and the airline industry and the FAA.
Sure.
Everything has a backup actually on an airplane.
Very rigid.
But ambulances and fire trucks don't have generally a backup on a backup on the engine or backup on the transmission or the brakes. There might be backup. There is backups a lot of times on the oxygen supply in the cabins and things.
Right.
And you may ask, how do I know this, Frank?
Yes.
Ask the question.
Yes. How do you know these things, Todd?
Because Crown Car Care happens to be certified in not only the repair of ambulances, but also the maintenance of emergency vehicles.
Yeah. And
that's two certifications. Yes, it's me.
Yeah.
So of course, I own the vehicle or own the business, and I am the godfather of the shops, and I oversee darn near everything. Right. And when it's a fairly new accreditation and certification, I took the tests, and I can proudly say I passed both of them. Nice. And they were very difficult. I think there was over 200 questions, and you had to get a large percentage of them correct. I think it had to be like 80% you had to get right, and they're tough.
Yeah.
Because not only is it asking about drivetrains and brakes, but the acceptable standards are different. So if you have let's just say you have a Super Duty F-Series truck that's just a regular truck, the guidelines for brakes, the guidelines for rotors and warpages and measurements is way different than the standards for that same truck that's been put into an emergency vehicle service condition. Where it's been put in service by a city, county, or an ambulance company.
Right.
The conditions and the factors that are used to check these things are much more stringent. Much more stringent.
See? And
frequency of service. You
Right.
have to know about oxygen content of the inside of the ambulances. You have to know about everything, oxygen supply, how wiring works and how it's fastened, the distance between connectors and fasteners with lines and hydraulic lines, where they can be mounted. It's all coming into play because you can't have an issue.
Right.
And when you can't ever have an issue, and I'll repeat that, can't ever have an issue, it has to be done right. And that's why there's these certifications, and we are certified. So here's what's my Sermon on the Mount on this one. If Crown Car Care is prepared and does work on ambulances and emergency vehicles,
yes,
think about how we'll care about your car.
Right.
We will.
Right.
That's all I'm going to say.
Absolutely.
Enough on that subject, really.
When you have to take a ride in an emergency vehicle, you want it to work.
And I am one of those shops that can work on those vehicles.
Right.
We're new at it. I mean, I just got the certification, so it's not, I don't currently
but
have fleets of them. I earned it.
You earned
There's a
that.
difference.
Right.
Yes, but we will be soon.
Right.
So
I
thought I'd pipe in out there and tell the world.
Well done.
I think it's a well-earned respect.
Yes, congratulations.
The next thing I wanted to talk about was Carvana. We happen to be, I think it's like 100-mile radius, the only repair shops that are listed on Carvana's website for this area as a certified, accredited, authorized repair shop for Carvana, which happens to be in the warranty company is Silver Rock. We repair those vehicles.
Wow.
They go to us first.
Nice.
Do I fix every one of them? No, of course not. Sometimes we have to, sometimes it has to be outsourced, but for the most part, they all come to me.
Nice.
Do they have to go to me? No. If you own a Silver Rock cert warranty on your Carvana, you don't have to go to me. You basically can go anywhere.
Right.
But what Carvana is telling you, the owner of that vehicle,
that they have
we have high hope. Well, not high. We have high standards, and this passed the test. Crown Car Care at both locations.
High faith and confidence.
That's what that means.
Yes.
It doesn't mean you're landlocked into using me.
Right.
If you don't want to, you don't have to.
Right.
But our doors are always open for the people that have bought a Carvana and have a Silver Rock extended warranty. Don't hesitate to call us.
Yeah.
We'll welcome you with open arms.
Right.
And we want you in the Crown family. So.
And I imagine the whole repair experience is going to be a lot smoother too.
Oh yeah, because you don't have to worry about money.
Right.
Well, there is deductibles now. I will say this. Remember, there is sometimes there's a shared burden.
Of course.
Depending on the policy, etc. But for the most part,
has to be
bulk of the money's paid for.
Right. And
in general, I'm saying
And the last thing you want to do as a consumer when you have an issue going on with your vehicle is have to go through a learning curve as to where do I go?
Correct.
Who's going to take care of it?
Carvana's done the homework for you.
Right.
So there you go. Well said, Frank. Thank you very much. And we are at the end of our show, if I believe.
We are.
Fabulous. And good night, everybody.
Good night. And look forward to seeing us here next week, right here on the Crown Car Care Power Hour. Give Todd a call at 781-8000.